So today we're going to work on the knees. The knees are primarily a hinge joint. So although they have a little bit of rotation, they really only work on the front or back hinge plane. And it's when we have instability in the side to side and rotational. So I actually want to focus today on where that rotational and side to side release through the leg so that we can give the body more understanding or more proprioception and feedback to avoid those rotational and side to side injuries that we get. And a lot of that comes from both the hip and the foot. So if you've taken class with me before, you've probably rolled your foot. I'd like to start quickly, not spend too much time, but by coming to the foot, because this is our foundation for the whole leg and for the whole body. And it really sets up health in the rest of the joints. So take your therapy balls out of the tote. I'm going to suggest to use one ball for one foot and one ball for the other so that your balls wear evenly. If you just use one, then you're going to end up with one really soft and one really hard ball. So let's begin standing, just doing a little foot integration to begin, setting up that foundation for the whole leg. So stand, foam roller works nice for that, or you can stand by a wall and just place the ball into your foot, just shifting your weight into it, getting a sense of the weight acceptance on the ball. And now start to plow along the ball. So you're pushing down and then you're pulling back. You're trying to collect those tissues under the foot and move deep under the skin, getting into all of the layers of the plantar fascia. And this is going to give you more awareness or proprioception in the arch of the foot. Keep rolling, but let me just show you. If the arch of the foot collapses, the knee starts to trend inward and the leg internally rotates the inside of the knee. So by improving activation in the arch, you're going to have better stabilization through the knee. So a couple more rolls, forward and back. And then we'll work right along the arch of the foot. So land with the ball in the high point of the arch of the foot. And now if you've done this with me before, oftentimes I'll say, take your hands to the outside of your knee. So everybody do that right now so that you can feel the movement that occurs at the knee as you go over the ball. And now we're trying to create a rainbow type action going through supination and pronation of the foot without pulling the knee in or pulling the knee in as little as possible. Do about 3 more passes. Maybe moving the ball up, the therapy ball up towards the ball of your foot a little bit if you're struggling. Hi, welcome. And then pause. We have one more standing foot exercise on this side. This is now where we're going to get those arch ball or the ball's too hard. You can curl a towel up underneath the toes. So now your heel is on the floor and you're going to curl the toes around the ball as if you could pick the ball up with your toes. And you should feel the arch muscles start to lift here. maybe even cramp a little bit, and then relax and spread the toes up and out. And then let's do that again. Curl the toes around the ball or a towel. Activate the arch of the foot, lifting the arch of the foot so that you feel the arch engage, reconnecting to that awareness and stability in the arch. And then relax, lifting and spreading the toes. And then one more time, curl. And then release. Just do one more pass along the foot. And then now go ahead and step off and we'll switch sides. As you switch, just pause and standing for a moment. Feel the difference in your feet. Maybe you have more awareness of the arch on the foot that you just rolled. Can you shift your weight forward and back and then side to side a bit? And then just settle so that your weight is resting over the arch of the foot. And then bring your awareness to your knee. Maybe your knees even feel different now. Maybe not. Then we'll just sort of quickly explore the foot to set out that foundation for the knee. So plow, pushing the ball, and then pull. Trying not to roll over the skin of the foot, but to roll into the deep layers of the plantar fascia and the deep supporting musculature of the arch. This muscle that runs all the way down the back of the leg and under the arch is actually considered a postural muscle because the arch is critical for maintaining alignment up the chain. Just sweeping across the arch, heel to toe, toe to heel, really generally right now. And then pausing, taking the ball underneath the arch of your foot. And then now sweep, and then bringing your hands right to your knees so that you're not moving from the hip, but trying to move over the ball, trying to get supination and pronation, getting the side to side motions of the foot and ankle. I think you have like 30 to 40, I have to look it up the exact number, joints in the foot that help us to accommodate to all these uneven surfaces. So we have to improve that ability to adapt to the surface. Again, that's going to absorb the force and take a lot of the strain out of the knee if we can utilize and feel movement in all of those joints to improve our balance and awareness. And then relax. Last, roll on this side, slide the foot back. So now you're a little bit further forward than the ball of your foot. And all I want you to do is if you either take your toes and curl around the ball like you're trying to pick up the ball with your toes, feeling the arch even begin to cramp. If that's just too much or not working, you can use a towel roll here as well. Trying to pick up the towel roll and then relax, spreading the toes. Let's do that a couple more times. Curl the toes, try to pick up the ball with your foot. I can't do it. I know people that can actually do that. And then release. And let's do that one more time. Curling the toes around the ball, really of the arch of foot. If you're having a hard time picking up the ball, I encourage you later to try this with a towel. And you keep your heel down and you try to lift the towel with your toes. You'll get the sense of that grip better. And then release. And now just take a couple passes, sweep the bottom of the foot. Great. And then go ahead, step off. So now we've established our foundation. And let's come down to the ground. We'll keep working. So here, once we come down to the ground, we'll come to your side. Am I frozen? Oh, there we go. Sorry. So come on down to your side. And you're going to take your therapy balls, place one under your shin and one between your shins. And you can use whatever tool. You can use even a rolling pin here, can here, whatever you have. And let your head be supported on your block. You'll use your block in a different position in just a moment. Please let me know if I do freeze. I feel like I've been having some internet problems in the last week or so, internet and Zoom stuff. So let me know. I'll create a little bit of a sandwich, almost like a clamp around the calf. And now you're working here the bottom leg. So for me, it's the left leg. It doesn't matter what side you're on, just find a side and land there. So we're going to use the ankle like a pulley system to mobilize the calf. The calf actually crosses the knee in the back. So if the calf is really tight, it's going to limit both the knee extension or the knee straightening as well as the ankle motion. So we're basically clamping the calf right now and then trying to move in that clamp to free up the motion. And then maybe even just roll a little bit the knees towards the chest to find a different spot along the calf. Sandwich that calf in another spot. And then go ahead and bottom. And then maybe roll again. Here, feeling in the bottom leg, right where the calf meets the fibula or the outside bone. And then maybe even when you get way up towards the top, not on the joint, still in the upper part of the muscle belly of the calf, do one more point and flex of the foot. I love this mobilization so much for the calf. It's like squeezing it and then get we were just right below the knee. We're not going to actually come on the knee joint because the knee joint itself is a space. The knee joint is where the movement occurs. So we're going to come into the tissues right above the knee joint now. So I want you to come just above the knee, right at the very bottom of the IT band, And then just above the joint of the knee, right on where the adductor, the inner thigh connects. So now the ball becomes a little small here. If you're using a bigger ball, like this, you can just use that, or if a can or something like that, or a rolling pin, you might not need the block. But then I need the block. That's why I recommended the block. So I'm putting the block like that just to create a better squeeze. And now I'm right above, and now I'm right above the knee joint. And this is often where, pulling oddly, or in an imbalanced way, we can get some odd rotational forces at the knee. So we're gonna compress on the outside and inside of the knee, addressing some of those pulling tissues. And now we're gonna start to bend and straighten the knee. Don't try to bend and straighten the knee all the way. Just go to where you feel resistance. And again, it's kind of like we're squeezing the quad a little bit. And you might feel like there are places where it catches, or you feel like, oh, I can't go through the full motion. That's okay. Just meet your resistance where you are. Free up a little bit. And I love starting right at the knee, just above the joint. So you're on the outside and inside of the femur bone. You're catching the edges as well as compressing the adductor and IT band. And this will help free up that kneecap mobility. Great. Now let's keep moving up, maybe in the bottom half of the thigh, still squeezing the thigh inside and out. Let's find a place of sensation. So just adjust the balls ever so slightly till you find that just right spot for you, that sensational spot. Now start to bend and straighten. And again, as you change positions, you might realize, oh my goodness, as soon as I start to move, there's a catch, or there's a strain, or there's a pull. Just go to that initial barrier. It might be only like 10 degrees of motion, and then come back. And then as you pin and stretch, or as you glide, just move a little smoother, glide a little better. If you feel like you're efforting, maybe just find a moment of stillness. Sustain the pressure, feel the sensation of the balls against you, and take a big letting go breath. And I'm holding my head up so you can see me and hear me, but I highly recommend letting your head rest all the way, finding a pillow, finding a bolster, finding a blanket, whatever, so that you're doing as little effort as possible. And then move the ball up again one more time, now towards the upper part of the thigh. So the upper half of the thigh and the adductor. And the more you roll forward into the balls, the more sensation will be. If you roll onto your back just like a little bit, off your side a little, it will take a little bit of weight out of it to make it sustainable. So put as much weight as is comfortable and sustainable into the balls. And like I said here, if you have a larger ball, maybe using that alpha ball would feel better right now. Whatever you have, give it a shot, and then bend and straighten. Freeing up, like you're flossing or teasing out all the different fibers. You might even hear a few like cracks and pops. And if you feel like you're really efforting or fighting the sensation, just pause in stillness. There's no right way. Take about 5 more breaths or 5 more passes, repositioning the ball if necessary to find that just right spot for you. And then releasing, taking out the block. We have one more thing on this side before we switch sides. I want to come right to the top of the IT band now. So now you're going to come like right to the pocket of your pants. I'm going to roll my back for a second so you can see, but stay right where you are. So if you were to put your hand in your pocket, or like my boss, he always says, like you're putting your gun in your holster because it sits right behind that bony hip point. This is where the little muscle that tensifies or tightens the IT band lives. So I'm going to put 2 balls here. If you have the bigger ball, you could just use the 1 ball, but the single small ball is just too much. So I'm going to put both those balls here, and now I'm going to start to roll back onto them. So now it's like the weight of my body is on here. Maybe you even come up towards your elbow here. This is kind of what people think of as that more traditional like IT band rolling. And then kickstand the top leg. Instead of doing that rolling up and down like most people do on the IT band, I actually want to engage the musculature here. If the balls underneath you just don't feel right, you can still do the action without the tools and still get the benefit. This just gives like a little bit more intensity. So here, body in a straight line, head, shoulder, hip, and then bottom foot. Lift up your bottom foot. Flex your foot so that you're reaching through your heel. Hold your foot off the ground for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then release. If you need to reposition your tool to that just right spot, I like to think about rotating the top hip down and forward just a little bit so that you stay truly on your side. And then let's do that again. Lift your bottom foot up, reach through your heel, squeeze your thigh, try to make your bottom leg as long as possible. Can you lift it a 1/2 inch more? Hold it for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then release. And then let's do that one more time. Reposition your therapy balls. Just a little roll to find the just right spot, right in the top of the IT band, beneath the crest of the pelvis. So you're on the outside of your pelvis. And then straighten your bottom leg. Lift from the inside of the leg, the inside of the thigh. Your toes are pointing forward. Your heel is reaching away. Lift the bottom leg up for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then release. Nice. Roll off of those balls right to the other side. We're going to come all the way down to the foot and start to work our way up. So on your side, knees are bent. Take your therapy balls first to sandwich the calf. Like I said, the calf crosses the back of the knee. So this is like putting a clamp on the calf. And to begin, just kind of roll, bend the knees toward your chest, roll up and down to find that just right spot to pause to begin with as you arrive. Take your time getting there. And then now the bottom foot points and flexes with those balls clamping around the calf, like you're creating a little calf sandwich, squeezing it. Until those tissues glide smoothly. Reposition the balls as necessary. Making sure you're in the meaty belly of the calf. And then working your way up. Now you're in the top upper part of the calf, still below the knee, sandwiching the upper part of the calf. Maybe rolling just a little bit on the outside border of the fibula or the outside bone. Sensing into your body. Repositioning and then pinning and stretching. Following your body sensations. And then as you're ready, coming up above the knee joint. So now we go right to below the knee joint and then right above the knee joint, not actually in the space of the joint because it's in that space where the movement occurs. And so we're gonna sandwich just above the knee joint. And here I'm gonna take my block again so I just have a little bit better compression. And then so I'm sandwiching the quad, compressing the IT band and adductor right around the tendons before the attachment site. And then I'm going to start to move the knee, pinning and stretching. So bending and straightening the knee only to the point of resistance. So not pushing or plowing through the edge or the border, but just meeting yourself where you are. And then when that feels like it's moving freely, you can move up a little bit. So now you're in the bottom half of the thigh, finding a point of sensation. Find that just right spot for you in the inner thigh and outer thigh and clamp it there. And then gently start to bend and straighten. Since the main motion of the knee is bend and straighten, I'm using that motion, that kicking kind of action to help us free up any restriction in the chain. So that as we swing our leg with each step, our leg swings freely. And then maybe if you find that you're efforting or not able to sense or feel, just find stillness. Sustaining compression and softening into the sensation of the balls is a great place to be. There's no right or better way. The most important thing is to listen to the sensations of your body and start to feel and get a better sense of what's going on in the body and meeting yourself right where you are. And then let's find one more spot along the line of the adductor or the inner thigh and the IT band. And again, you control how much weight is in the balls, farther back. If it's a little too much and you find yourself clenching, rotate back a little bit. If you need a little bit more, rotate over, put a little bit more weight into the balls. And then once you arrive into that sensational spot, first feel it. And then you can start to move. And the moving is only an option. I'm only suggesting bending and straightening the knee. to floss all of those fibers so that all those fascial connective tissue fibers can glide and slide and move along one another freely. So the thickest fascia, the thickest connective tissue in the body is between the hip and the knee. And that can play a lot of havoc on the knee and how the kneecap pulls and on how twisting or side to side shearing force that leads to degeneration or injury can come about because these fibers above the joint aren't sliding and gliding well. So take time to explore them in whatever way your body is asking. And then release. Remove the block from between your knees. Take your two balls right into that pocket area. And then roll right onto them. This might be quite sensational. So try to keep the body as relaxed as possible. Maybe coming to your elbow gives you a little bit more support. And then kickstand your top leg. And we're not gonna glide up and down too much. We're just gonna do maybe a couple pumps just to find that just right spot. And now we're gonna engage the musculature in the inner thigh. So lift the bottom foot up, reaching long through your heel, keeping your toes pointing forward so that you're truly lifting with the inner thigh muscles. Hold that for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then come down. Reconnect to the sensation of the balls right in the top of the IT band, right in the tensor fascia lata, the little muscle that tensifies or tightens the IT band. And then again, lift your bottom leg, reaching through your heel, flexing your foot, toes pointing forward towards me. Activate the inner thigh, stabilizing the leg on that side to side plane now. And release. One more round, just like that. Lift from the inner thigh, 1/4 inch longer through your heel. Hold. 5, 4, lift a little bit more. 3, 2, 1, and then release. Roll off of your balls and then all the way onto your belly. Walk one foot back and then the other foot back so that you can rest on your belly. Let your head come to the earth. And I want to get into the quad now, pinning and stretching through the quad the same way we did when we were on our side. So here you can use your single therapy ball. You could also put the 2 therapy balls back into your tote if you want to increase the surface area to decrease the intensity a bit. Or you can take your alpha ball right above the kneecap. So we're gonna go right above the kneecap. I'm gonna stick with the small ball today because I wanna feel the edge of the kneecap. So right above the kneecap, not on the bone, but just above. Anchor the ball there and then lie all the way to your belly. Now, once you've arrived, start to bend and straighten your knee. Feeling just above the kneecap. So you're actually pulling on the tendon of the quad. And maybe you rotate the foot out, or you rotate the foot in just a little bit, exploring what the different angles do. When I rotate my foot out a little bit, I just get this spot that's a little sticky. I get a little bumping or kind of snapping of the ball over it, right on the inside of the quad where it meets the kneecap. And then if you rotate the foot in, you might get that outer border of the kneecap, right where the IT bands will pull on the knee. And then maybe you even rotate the leg out and in with some hip internal and external rotation, just to go across the tendon of the quadriceps, right as it starts to come and attach and kind of encompass the kneecap or the patella. And so I'm rocking the foot, perfect. Yeah, rotating the hip in and out. And then again, isolating that hip inward and outward rotation is so critical for being able to control the side-to-side direction of the knee. And then go ahead and let the leg come down. Let's find another spot in the quad. I'm literally just going to take my ball, pick it up, move it upward so it's in the bottom half of the quad. And I'm just going to search a little bit by coming up to my forearms and using my toes and finding a spot of sensation, a spot that doesn't feel like it's gliding well. And I'm going to just come back to my belly and pause once I find it. And once I find that spot that feels pretty sensational, I'm going to again start to bend and straighten. And it doesn't have to be a lot. Look, I went like maybe 15 degrees that first time, just to where I feel it pull. Not blowing past that barrier or that restriction, but meeting it, feeling the edge of it, yeah, and then backing off. And with a few repetitions there, you'll feel it starts to unravel, starts to let go. You're allowed to easily move a little bit more. And then once you feel like that spot is free, maybe find 2 more spots along the thigh, using that pin and stretch action of bending and straightening the knee to get those fibers gliding. Finding your last spot on this side. Taking a couple deep breaths. This can be one of the most tender areas to roll. Like I said, it has the thickest connective tissue. Maybe even bending and straightening just feels like too much, and just holding compression feels like it's just enough. Wherever you are, take 3 more breaths on this side before you transition to the other side. And as you're ready, switch over to the other side, starting right at the bottom of the quad, just above the kneecap, where the tendon of the quad meets the kneecap. And then come back down onto your belly and then start to bend and straighten, just feeling the tendon pull underneath the ball, where the ball and the body meet. Just go to where you feel a tug or resistance. Don't blow past it. If you blow past it and bend your knee all the way the first time, then you're not necessarily doing yourself any favors. More isn't better. I really like to think about less being more with this work. Using as little effort as possible. Letting the body be supported and relaxed as possible. Once you bend your knee, maybe you can turn the knee in and out, finding different angles of resistance, of restriction. And then maybe you move the ball across, right across the top edge of the kneecap. So not on the kneecap, just off the top edge, doing some cross fiber massage. Freeing up the border of the kneecap so that it can glide and move better. And you're really freeing up where the quad attaches to the kneecap. Take a few more passes, a few more bend and straighten on different rotational angles here. And then release, moving the ball up, finding about 3 different ball stops in the front of the quadricep muscle, the front of the thigh, finding a point of sensation, and then pinning and stretching over that spot, just rolling a little bit to find it, and then coming back down to your belly after doing a little exploratory roll, and coming back into that bending and straightening, so that we're moving the freedom of the joint, moving through the freedom of the joint, trying to untweeze the fibers where the ball and the body meet, so that the joint can move freely without any excessive pull or torsional type force. So by freeing up the musculature above the joint, it will allow the joint to move with more freedom. And once that first spot feels free, like you can move through the full range of motion, either by pinning or stretching or just sustaining compression, find another spot. It may not be right in the middle of the thigh. It may be more towards the outside of the thigh. It may be more towards the inside of the thigh. Allow yourself to rotate the leg in and out or a little bit to find that just right spot. The thigh is a big territory. And if you find that you're working too hard, if you find they're tightening your shoulders, your face, your jaw, your toes, or your hands, maybe just arrive in sustained compression, just lying with your weight over the ball, letting time and gravity doing the release. That's just as beneficial. And then find your last spot. Maintaining and stretching by bending or straightening, or sustaining compression. Maybe even rotating the leg, exploring the different angles of pull. And when you've had enough, take all of the props out, lie on your belly for just a moment, feeling now this deflated nature of the thighs. Like the thighs are wide and broad on the floor. No more tightness holding up the legs, allowing you to relax completely. And by relaxing completely, the musculature and the connective tissue can move through better range. It can work more efficiently, more effectively. Just take a deep breath in, exhale through the mouth. And then we'll end the session by coming up towards hands and knees. Find both therapy balls. Place the balls right in the crux of the knee. So right into the knee, creating a little gapping of the knee. This is going to improve the knee flexion. If you don't have two balls of the same size or don't have something that fits in there, you can kind of take a blanket and kind of stick that blanket behind the knees too. I often tell people to do that, and that works just as well, just to create a pulling apart of the knee joint before it bends. So oftentimes in yoga, if you've ever been to yoga and have had knee problems, you can put the blanket between the knees and that will give it some relief. And so from here, you can sit up if you have that space. It might feel intense, but also too, it could feel easier now after doing all this rolling. But I was thinking we would just come and end in a nice child's pose, taking about 10 breaths or so, letting go completely. The arms can be overhead or by your side. There's no right way. You can even support the forehead with your hands. Just allow yourself to let go of any efforting now. If you're still feeling some intensity of sensation that makes you feel uncomfortable, maybe rock the hip side to side here. Think of it like you're rocking a baby. So you're here in child's pose, rocking yourself, self-soothing, self-nurturing, allowing the body to soften, become relaxed and at ease, surrendering into the weight of gravity and the support of the earth. Take a few more breaths, exhaling through the mouth, letting go. Staying as long as you like, or as you're ready, removing the balls and meeting me back in sitting. Thank you so much for joining. It's always a pleasure having everyone.